From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Welcome back. Hear that echo in the intro? Did you hear that? That's a special mic I have that creates echo. It's actually one I just carry around with me. I had to think about it.
It's called a broken mic or something. I don't know.
Season 2, episode 12 today.
12.
Yeah, season 2, episode 12 today. Actually, I may be mistaken, but I don't think so. 1 year ago today, we published our first podcast.
Heck yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's been going on. So this will be the 59th episode in 1 year. And 59 in 1 year. That's actually more than one a week. And that includes bonus episodes, any kind of recording. So
Wow.
let's get this rolling.
Yeah.
I'm Mike, joined today with Matt,
What's happening?
Jill,
Hey, guys.
and our guest today is Eddie.
Hello, everyone.
And Eddie is celebrating 2 years recovery today. So
Yes,
I actually
congratulations.
have an applause button, and I'm gonna hit it later. I'll remember that. I didn't do it in the right time, so.
That's okay. So I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
How'd you do it?
I did it one day at a time,
Okay. Makes sense.
just like everyone else that I heard of.
Yep.
That's a good answer, Eddie. So you mainly attend the Highland Club?
The Highland Club at the 7:30 a.m. group is my home group.
Yeah.
I started out, excuse me,
You're good.
at a halfway house right around the corner. I walked to hundreds of meetings, took
Wow.
suggestions, got a sponsor, worked through the 12 steps, learned how to incorporate them into my everyday life, and little by little, slow but sure, it got better and better and better. And since then, I live a life that I never would have imagined.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that simple.
And I hear that a lot from folks. The further along they get into recovery, they live a life they never would have imagined, you know?
True.
It seems to be something that goes along with, recovery and not doing drugs and alcohol and maybe working some steps and living the right.
The recovery word is pretty neat, really, because truly recovering is like starting to have this other life, and it's like, it's not just stopping that substance, but it's regaining things and restoring things. And it just keeps getting better, it just keeps
When you
getting better.
remove the alcohol and drugs and the destructive behavior, life just tends to get better.
And it does. It does for a lot of us. It man, I can't even imagine. Today is Sunday. We're recording on a Sunday morning, and really bad weather today. So I'll tell this quick story before we get off in our topic. But I left my place this morning, and I took a normal route I take every single day, right? No matter what, I take this route. And I take a right, and I head down, and I notice flashing lights in 3 different intervals. One way up, one right halfway, and then one, I don't know, 50 yards away from me. So I get up close to these flashing lights, and the first 2 cars are completely underwater, almost, except for their tail lights, and the third car has its it's halfway underwater. So I'm wondering, how do you get that? You driving up and you go, hey, that car looks like it's underwater. Let me go check that out. And then the third one comes and says, there's 2 cars underwater. I might need to go up there and see what's going on.
I can make it.
It all happened at the exact same time.
Flash flood.
You also have rednecks that go, well, they're stuck, but I know my stuff will make it through there.
Or there could have been alcohol involved because it's Sunday morning and
Could be.
You're deep in the heart of Texas.
Could be. Yeah. I mean,
Vision ain't working too well. Let me just drive.
Right.
The first person I get, man, there's never water there. That would have been me. Second two, I'm trying to figure it out.
They were in the wrong gear.
They were in the forward. They were in the wrong gear. Man, that is insane. So, Jill, everything going good with the pigs and the chickens and
Yes, everything's going well.
here on the farm?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything is progressing as it should.
Okay. Chickens getting bigger?
Yes, absolutely.
I imagine they grow at a pretty big rate here in the
Yeah.
first few months.
They're trying to escape the coop now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you have a place for them to go when they escape?
They'll be free range at that
World.
point.
Popeyes. They'll be down at Popeyes. Matt, what's going on in your world, man?
Man, just working like crazy, It's good. It's good. This year's been a new venture, and it's all I can do, and I kind of like it that way. So, just still working in treatment and still doing my other deal, and man, life just keeps getting better. Keeps getting better. So,
Anniversary coming up, birthday.
what's today? Yeah,
Today's 28th.
May 6th.
May 6th. And we got
About a
who on
week
the
or
first?
something.
Who's on the first?
Ben.
We got Ben on the
Ben
first.
S. and
Chris
somebody
C.
else. And
Chris C.
Chris C's on the 15th
Oh, is
of
he?
May, and then Craig is also on the 1st. Him and
Craig
Ben
is on,
share
that's
a
right.
birthday.
Craig that was on our last episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's got one coming too, man. He's about to be, 2 years, I guess. So, him and Ben.
Well, on my end, just been extremely busy. But one thing I can say, I finally, and I know this thing has been going a year, but I finally got approved for a nonprofit. So
Good.
So the Grouch and the Brainstorm will now be owned by a nonprofit. The name of the entity is Rule 62 Media Incorporated. Based out of Texas, Burleson, Texas, but it's going to be a nonprofit so that anything that it's just to benefit the show, keep the show from being, copyright, whatever. But a lot of little legal things that go along with it. But most important thing is we can continue to do the show. And if we have to get donations or something, that will all be tax deductible if anybody ever donates. And then anything we purchase, of course, will be, free of taxes, most taxes. So,
Yeah.
But it's just a way that we won't make money off the show as long as it is owned by that company. So, it'll strictly be to continue to move the show forward. And that's what I'm working on now. So I got a 501(c) application in with the IRS. But the actual business, Rule 62 Media, has been approved. So I didn't know this, but I was going to change Common Peril to a nonprofit. And if you're already an LLC, you can't just swap it over to a nonprofit. You're going to have to restart a new entity. So
Got it.
So that's what I've been doing, and working 7 days a week. So, and then all the other little things I do. So today we're going to take a look at how it works. Matt, do you know how it works?
A little bit.
If you think about it, a newcomer comes in, and first off, we read how it works almost at every meeting. Okay. Matter of fact, most meetings read how it works. They don't read more about alcoholism. Some read the promises, but most read how it works. So we come in and we hear how it works. And if you're brand new, straight off the street, right, don't know anything about recovery, AA, anything, you're thinking how it works is fixing to tell you how it works, right? That's what I think. Kind of like the chapter. There is a solution. You think there is a solution is going to be in that chapter, right? But it's not. Well, it is, but you have to be around a while to understand what the solution is. Basically, a spiritual experience.
Do you have to?
Yeah. I mean, it's written right there in plain English, but if you're looking for a fast solution, which alcohol usually gave us,
Yes.
you're not going to get it. So in how it works, unless you've been around a while, this doesn't tell you how it works. This tells you how the program of Alcoholics Anonymous works, not
Well,
how.
nor does it make sense.
Nor does it make sense.
If it is just complete jibber jabber for a while.
That's where we enter the breakdown. So let's break it down.
Are you going to break it down?
I'm gonna break it down. Matt?
Yes.
All right, you ready?
Playing my song.
So we're going to start with chapter 5, actually, is where this can be found in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we go, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Who is our?
The recovered alcoholics.
And how many were there?
Hundreds, I think, at the time.
I don't think there was quite 100. I think there was about 82, to be honest. But
Yeah.
Close.
yeah. Jill, how many were there? I know you got this on your AA trivia board.
No.
Oh,
No.
we'll have people call in.
It'd be
and
a
tell us.
good.
Hello, 82.
first
You just said
100.
that.
we say in AA we go by the first 100. Eddie got it right. So we go by the first 100. I'm not quite sure there was 100. I think there was 82. I may be wrong. Should have did my research in advance. But rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Those who do not recover, okay, that means people who just can't get it. They do it because they can't completely give themselves to a simple program.
Can't surrender.
Can't give it up.
Still holding on to something.
Yeah.
Right. So is that you that sent me the video? No, it was Chris C. sent me a video on denial. And you got a guy on there like my age, you know, and he's like, I used to think I couldn't run in a triathlon, but now I have denial.
Yeah.
And I can do anything, you know.
I think most of them say, I'll do your stupid program, but I'm going to do it my way.
No.
And that's what happens.
There
Yeah.
you go. And their way is probably more complicated than
For sure.
this simple program, because it really is simple. Not easy,
Not easy.
but simple. So, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. Any ideas? No.
Yeah. I couldn't be honest with anybody, including myself,
Yeah.
before this, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I would, if I was honest about the addiction or whatever, it was always, well, yeah, but if this,
Right. Well, it was it was just denial, justifications, blame, rationalization, like all of that.
What jumps out at me is in chapter 3, it says, from every form of self-deception and experimentation I've tried to prove myself exception to the rule, therefore non-alcoholic. That's back in chapter 3, but it leads into chapter 5. And for me, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Constitutionally incapable. Let's see what it means. One who, by virtue of physical illness or mental disability, could no longer perform the duties
Yeah.
of the office is the rest of that, but we're not necessarily in an office. But,
Makes
you
sense.
know, so it kind of all gels together there.
Yeah.
Right? Constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. I don't know how many times I told myself I'm never going to drink again, only to come up with some form of reason why I should drink again. Whether it's I've been sober for 3 days, I think I can handle it, or I deserve a drink, but
I'm entitled.
I'm entitled.
This is a
not
quote
illegal.
that I heard this week at work. Okay. The guy comes in to a treatment facility, is sent there, has people bring him, and he looked at me and said, I don't even need to be here. I was doing fine. I had 3 weeks before I got here that I didn't use. And I was like, oh.
Cured.
Like, he was looking at me like, can you believe they even brought me up here? I had 3 whole weeks.
You're a veteran.
And I went,
I remember thinking those kind of things.
but your urine test is dirty. And he goes, well, but I had 3 weeks. I'm like, oh, but you don't now is what we're getting at, you know? So,
I mean, how long you plan on me being sober, bro?
yeah, bro. What you want me to do?
I
You know?
had 3 weeks,
But I
goddamn.
I just sat there laughing, and I was just like, God, I did. Like, my brain was so.
Like, who?
Yeah, it's just like, this was how I was, you know? It's like, see, I didn't do nothing for that hour of the day. I'm good, you know, obviously.
And you know, here's the thing: we're not making fun of this person. We've all
Not at
been there,
all.
right?
Yes.
we have been there, and I guarantee, if they heard us today and knew we were talking about them, they would be offended, or their feelings would hurt. But if they heard us in a year from now and they were still sober, they would laugh.
It would be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I wasn't even, I laughed, not because it was funny with the guy, but because I was looking in the mirror and I was like, oh, I was there, you know, and, I was there, and I was that same, just denial and justifying everything. And, yeah, that was the part that made me laugh. I was like, look at me sitting in this chair right now. So,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah, I definitely recall doing the same thing.
yeah, it's just part of us, you know. But usually, men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves, there are such unfortunates. There are, not they are such unfortunates, which we hear read a lot of times in the room. there are such unfortunates. There are people out there like that. We just described that, by the way. I think all four of us just kind of threw ourselves in that loop. They are not at fault. Well, that kind of takes away some of the responsibility, don't it? They seem to have been born that way.
Yeah, if they're constitutionally incapable, that's organic. Sorry.
What, for using a big word like organic?
There's something going on mentally.
Mentally.
Yeah.
Is that where you use that word? Cognitive, is that what it is? Did I guess it?
So like on that, not to get off the path, but this is something with this job I have now that I think about all the time. This paragraph.
Yeah.
There are people who I don't think, because of other issues, I don't think they're ever capable of fully grasping, and that's a weird thing to be around people and go, is this a mental thing that they're born with, literally, and something they can't help? Or is it's weird trying to figure that out,
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot of people be successful in this program with severe mental illness.
Yeah. And I think there are people who legitimately, okay, now I want y'all to listen, they legitimately have problems and they legitimately find recovery in prison.
Yeah.
Sure.
With life sentences, and they're in there for a reason. And I'm not giving them excuses, but I think they find recovery in there, and they really have real recovery. And that might be what makes some of their life kind of bearable. And I don't know that, I'm just saying. So there are people out there that have like some tendencies to, whack people,
Yeah.
but can find recovery.
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
have
I
a
see it-
monopoly on recovery.
Yeah.
No.
I see it every day.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was bringing that up. It's, you see people with like medical, mental illness, severe stuff that it's like you're kind of like, yeah, it makes sense that the drugs are involved here. And you almost know that this person probably will, if they don't get it right, that they're just going to fight this forever.
Right, especially if they're unmedicated. And
Yeah.
I guess they're also talking about people that have any kind of damage to like the prefrontal cortex where the decision making is made.
What is that?
The frontal lobe.
Frontal
Their
lobe.
head.
Yep.
Where's the cerebrum? Is that way in the back?
I
Don't know. You just know about the frontal lobe.
no, let's
Okay.
move along.
Moving on.
You lost me at that other
I'm
word
lost.
you used.
It's the prefrontal cortex right here.
Yep.
Brain.
That's what makes you decide stop at a red light.
Yeah, that's
Is
your
that
exact-
where English or Spanish or whatever language you speak is stored?
I don't know about language and all, but I do know that's where your decision making, stems from, and that is the part of the brain that is, my mind just went blank. All right, my mind just went blank.
Like
It's okay.
consequences, actions. It filters all that stuff. Like, am I wrong on that?
If you get a lobotomy, that's where they go
Exactly.
because they go through
So
your nose.
you won't be able to.
Is that where they went on you,
make
Matt?
decisions? It,
That was called a divorce, not a
It
lobotomy,
actually
but-
is the part that is finished
Colonoscopy.
forming last. And so, when you start using drugs at a young age, that has not even
developed.
developed fully yet.
Yeah.
And that's the part it can damage the most
Gotcha.
is our decision making skills. But anyway, like if there was an injury to that and you can't even make a decision, I think that's what they're talking about.
Okay.
Or a wise decision. How about that?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Well, they seem to have been born that way.
Exactly.
Okay. They're naturally by nature, incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty.
Bingo.
Rigorous honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever seen Liar Liar with Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite movie.
That's rigorous honesty. I don't know if I can grasp that level.
Right.
That's pretty brutal.
That's a whole nother level. Yeah.
But it worked out for him, in the end.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Scripted pretty well.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a good movie. So, but I can't. Grasping and developing a manner of living, which rigorous honesty is pretty tough, right?
Yeah.
Just don't drink today, and don't lie to me about it. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but their chances are less than average, I guess is what he's trying to say in this. So there are those two who suffer from grave. Now, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. There are
Yeah.
those two who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders. But many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. So he starts off how it works in these first two paragraphs, right? But he mentions honesty twice. And he mentions honesty with the those who have a hard time recovering, and he mentions honesty with those who have mental, illness, so to speak, right?
Right.
But no matter what, you have to have the ability to be honest.
Opening the door for hope.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, man?
I like that. Yeah. And, yeah, that's the whole name of the game here is a little bit of action and willingness and honesty and just going, okay, here's what I am. We're going to get into that when we get into reading the steps on this part, but yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game. It's honesty from step one all the way down. It starts hammering that, quality or what principle, whatever you want to call it.
Straight off the bat.
Right off the bat, it's hammer time with that, So, and I was talking to somebody last night about this, and I said, we get honest in this program, and it's always, I'm a drunk, I'm a drug addict, I'm this, I'm that, I'm blah, blah, blah. But we also should be looking and going, but what do I have here? What honestly do I bring to the table that I can build on at the same time? And as you go down through the steps, when we get to to 5 and things like that, it is good to go, okay, here's what I am, good, bad, and indifferent. We got lists of both. So, I like the tearing away of all the denial junk, that we carry around and ripping that apart. But at the same time, we got to have something to start building back on, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
I wanted to comment on when Mike asked, do you know how it works? And one of the first things that I learned was the how of the program is honesty, open-mindedness, and the willingness.
There you go.
Sure.
That is the how and why.
That's absolutely. So that's one of those kind of like halt, one of those things you can take with you. Remember, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. The three things you're going to need. And actually, in Bill's story, I think it mentions them 3 times. Maybe not in order, but it mentions them 3 times.
I mean, they couldn't beat him right on. I mean, even if it's just like they say, like a mustard seed is something you can grow from, because that's about all I had.
Have you ever actually seen a mustard seed?
I feel like I have, and it's very tiny.
Well, I had a friend of mine who actually not in the program. He carried around hanging from his visor, right, in his blazer. Now, granted, he gave me a ride twice, and a rat had crawled up in the engine and died, and like while they were on vacation. So when they came back, they had that death smell all inside. That's what he told me. Okay, I don't know, but it's so I had a hard time concentrating anyway. But he had this little tiny vial hanging from a string from his visor, and inside said vial was a mustard seed.
Cool.
Because I said, "What's that?" I thought maybe it's part of some relative or something he had left,
rat.
or whoever was used to be in the back.
Leftover potpourri trying to kill that rat smell.
He said it's a mustard seed.
Good Lord.
And it is. It's very tiny.
Yeah.
It's about, I don't know, I can't compare it to anything other than a mustard seed.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that does start. I mean when you can see the benefit right off the bat of just that initial, this really sucks, but I'm going to be real honest here about, and not point fingers at everybody else, man. And then it just like a corner being turned real slow,
Very slow.
very slow.
Very, very slow.
So, continuing on, our stories disclose in a general way, right? So, we tell our stories in a general way, what it was like, what happened, and what we're like now, right? So at this point is when we share, we talk about what it was like, what happened, and what we're like now. Now, this is according to the guys in the big book, right? Mm-hmm. Not me. This ain't my opinion. I ain't throwing that out there. But according to them, this is what they share. So, and they're not talking about, I don't know, I had a bad day at work today, or I'm mad at my boyfriend because he did this, or girlfriend, or my grandma's kidney machine shut down. None of that. It's just we share in a general way what it used to be like, what happened, and what we're like now. You got to remember, though, these guys had found recovery. So the people who writing this had actually found recovery. If you decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. Yeah. Man just looked at me and nodded. Yeah.
Well, that was, I guess the whole deal for me was there's got to be a radical change here to get this to stop. And that any length thing, it's real cute to read that, but us people that have been there a little bit, yeah, it means that. And you've got to be willing to do things. Eddie just said he walked to how many meetings?
Hundreds.
I picked up a dude the other day, was walking to the Survivors Club. He was walking out, and he was leaving a treatment center right around the corner. He was walking, and I looked at him, and I don't know him, and I dropped him off, and I said, "You're going to do fine, because you're out here walking your ass down the road to go to a meeting.
Oh, man.
Nobody else around."
That's like Hank Williams at the end of the song.
It is, man. And
Talking about willingness.
yeah, and that's what I told him. I said, "Dude, you're gonna recover if you keep this attitude and this willingness to. I'm gonna put one foot in front of the other, and I'll get there eventually and do what I'm supposed to do." Man, that's a beautiful thing. But most people are not. They're like, "Oh, I don't have a ride. Oh, it's too hot in the building. Oh, it's too no,
Too hot in the building.
yeah." I mean, it's always a
It will always be something.
I don't like that person over there. So
They're talking about me. Problem
me.
is, we have, and I did it too, but we have a hard time understanding these people have been exactly where I am.
Likewise.
There ain't nobody. They have been to the same spots I am. Now, I do try when I share or when I talk in a meeting or when I address people or give a speech, I want people to understand that this is just about recovery. This isn't about me and how great I am or any of that. It's just about, let's try to make it as easy as possible, but we want to eliminate excuses one by one. Mm-hmm. And if you ever notice that, the ones that stick around are the ones that you start eliminating their excuses and they still stay.
Right.
The ones that go missing are the ones that you've eliminated their excuses and they ain't got nothing else. They're just like, "I'm out of here, bro."
Yeah.
I like what you were talking about, Mike, and what came to mind was in Doctor's Opinion, he talks about how if one alcoholic is going to reach the heart of another, that frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices.
Yep.
That the message must have depth and weight. And the way I was explained, what that means is, if you pour me a beer and a draft and it's full of bubbles, like there's no value there. I'm gonna have to blow all that off to get to the substance, what I really want, what I really need. And so, coming from my experience, where we're talking about what it used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. In my opinion, this is my opinion, is my experience, strength, and hope. And so that's how this thing works, is one alcoholic using his experience to gain the confidence of another to where they can relate. So I don't know if that helps.
No, it does. And there was some of those guys in there, that they didn't, I don't know, when I first got there, they want to tell you how it was when they got here, and how lucky you are because they, when I got here, they just told me, sit in the corner and shut up, and they throw their coffee cups on me, You hear stuff like that, you're thinking, wait, no, that was 35 years ago.
Yeah, it's a different generation.
Cars have engines now.
Yeah. I remember riding up to the AA meeting on a mule. They call you.
Yeah. They don't say, we didn't have cell phones. Oh, well, hell, life was really hard on you there, wasn't it, bro? And
we talked about this the other day with a group of people. We had that's a few months ago, but we were talking
can say
about
the other
that.
day. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
it
know.
was
My
the other
days
day.
all
It
run
was.
together, man. Life's just rolling 100 miles an hour right now. But we had this conversation, and it's like things change in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I like that. I'm traditional, old school. I like the old school, but at the same time, we're not dealing with the same stuff Bill and Bob were as far as the way to do it. We're still dealing with drunks. They're still the same. That ain't changed. But the process of doing it has changed. And so you can adapt to it and try to make that work in order to help people, or just sit and watch it go by, you know?
That's a good point, Matt.
I mean, we didn't, it's what Mike just said. They didn't, Bill and Bob didn't have cell phones, you know? I bet there wasn't a lot of people had breathalyzer things in their car to crank them in the 30s. You know what I mean? They didn't have any of that
Well,
stuff.
probably a lot of people didn't even have vehicles because
I
they
can
couldn't
imagine.
afford them.
I can imagine we had alcoholics in the 1800s.
Sure.
And I bet between 1800 and 1899, very few DUIs were issued.
Right.
Yeah.
There were hangings.
Well, you know,
Unless your horse was drunk.
they usually. I mean,
That happens.
things really do change, and you know, we might be in an environment now where we need to be more welcoming. And you know, and to be honest with you, my welcome committee wasn't bad at all. Nobody mistreated me. I heard the stories, and there was a couple of meetings I felt uncomfortable, wanted to get up and get out because people would address me about stuff I didn't. But truth is, I got to do some uncomfortable stuff to live comfortable, right?
That's right.
So I get that, but
But I think too with us, we can have, I know with working with guys early on, we were talking about this right before we put on the microphone about having a conversation with a guy early on, and we can have an uncomfortable conversation and get your point across. But the others almost take it because they know how to take it because they know where we're coming from.
That's right.
So it's not as bad as it would be if, you know, some stranger walked up. They go, this is me talking to me. So yeah, it may be a little uncomfortable. I may not want to hear it. I may be mad in the moment, but if I reflect on it, I go, you know what? He did the same thing. So
Right.
I think it's also worth noting that back in the 30s and the 40s, when all this was really taking off in the very beginning, for a person to get sober, the effort they had to put into it was so much more strenuous than it is now. They didn't have treatment centers all over the place. Yep. They would have to fly or travel across the country to go stay at someone's house where they had a meeting maybe once a week, maybe. And so now we have resources that are so available. They're all around. And hell, we even got Medicaid helping out.
yeah.
And so getting sober is not as it's not as difficult, or it's not. I mean, there's more resources. It's still hard as hell getting sober.
Yeah.
It sucks in the beginning,
it does suck.
but if you
doesn't it?
stay on the path, it does get easier.
And we go back to what you said. You know, it's a life that you never dreamed of
That's right.
once you get sober.
Yep.
You know, you got to get over that hump, man.
Yeah.
You got to get over that.
That's
Oh
the
my
biggest
God.
that's the biggest message, man, with guys and working with guys is like, dude, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna suck for a little while. You just trust the process here and trust the people that have already done it. I'm not sugarcoating it, man. You're gonna have moments where it just sucks. You may have a day or two where it sucks, a week, but it's gonna
Months.
get better.
Just do it for one day.
Jill said decades. No.
You can do anything for one day.
Well,
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
that's where the problem lies. You know, we don't come in here because we trust people.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was a really hard step for me. I was like, I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to know you.
But what got me the trust was maybe different from you is that I sat down in a room and I started hearing people that I didn't know, and they weren't talking to me. They were just talking about their stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm just like that.
Yeah.
But
I
that
took
guy-
a
For
shower,
sure,
too.
for sure.
That guy's 8 years sober. Like, he's just like me. Like, how did he do that? And I was curious because, and then it became a thing of, okay, I do trust what that guy said, and I don't even know him. But the fact that he just told how I feel and what I'm going through, there's something there, you know?
Yeah.
These are
It
my
takes
people.
a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You
Matt,
know, of sitting in a lot of meetings.
Matt just said something. He said, you know, we sitting there 8 years sober, and you see somebody that says they're 8 years sober,
Yeah.
and I automatically I was intimidated.
Sure.
Just straight off the bat. And here's the thing, I like somebody that was 5 years. I would see that as a challenge. I can do that because that guy's, you know, he's still goofy as hell. I can do 5.
Yeah.
But when I hear somebody like 8, I would just be like, oh yeah, that's way out of my league. I'm not even gonna mess with that 8. But 5, I'll see about 5. You know, and I remember when I was leaving Brentwood, right? So I had maybe one day left, and I was gonna go out into the real world. and a guy named Lane, and I don't know if y'all know who I'm talking about, but that day he celebrated 9 years.
He was my sponsor at one time.
Was he? So
Lane A.
yeah, so
Yep.
he should be around 21 years now, unless something's happened.
I think more.
He's still
22
around.
maybe.
Yeah, he's still around.
So so I'm fixing to have 13 plus 9, 22. So but he celebrated his 9th birthday right there, and I remember thinking that 9 years is way out of my league.
Like never.
Never.
That's never going to happen.
I won't live that long. I mean, your mind tells you that this sucks so bad. 9 years of it is like, being in a I don't know, some bad situation for 9 years.
I remember that in treatment. I just got there and these girls were having 90 days sober and were leaving. And I was like, that will never.
Yeah, 90
be
days. I'm like,
me.
Jill, forget 9 years. I'm like, how you got a 60-day chill, dog? What you did to do that?
Jill,
I remember bawling, crying because I was like, that won't be me. But hey, here
I
I
don't
am.
want 9 years. I don't want 9 years.
Yeah, I
It was
just wanna
so
get out
overwhelming.
probation.
I was still trying to figure out how I was going to drink champagne on my wedding day, and what if this happens?
I remember like seeing those people with 90 days, and I was like a couple of weeks, and I was like, I'll never do that, And then you get to 90 days in a treatment center, you're like an antique. Dude.
Oh, no, you're like a
old-timer.
superstar.
Yeah,
That's right.
They're like
Like
that
a
guy
Laker.
right there, he's got 86 days.
Matt
right
came
now.
back with his entourage of sponsees after 90 days.
They're like,
Still
that
in
man,
treatment.
He's got his own opening music.
Oh, dude, it was so funny looking back on it now, But you are in that environment. Yeah, you get it's still experience, strength, and hope. People are like,
Right.
I'm an hour sober now, and there's a dude with a month and a half. He's a legend.
Yeah,
I remember
well-
90 days. I wanted to go back and talk to my counselor at Brentwood and be like, just wanted to thank you so much. I made 90 days.
Oh, yeah.
Now that I'm an old timer, y'all need to listen.
But you know what? To be honest with you, the feeling that you got at having achieved 90 days is almost worth continuing.
I don't know. See, I realized then that I was like the head of the leader, and that freaked me out because I was like, no one needs to be looking up to me, okay? And they kept putting me as community leader because I did not want to be ahead or
I was the group
the
guy
top
too.
person. I was like, no, stop it.
But what did it make you do? Get better?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I know
Look
they
at
did.
you. Now you're on a podcast.
It's funny to look back on my ways of thinking. I was like, no, I can't be in charge of anything.
You know what
Please.
you know what that is? I heard this the other day and I loved it. It said, hold on, let me make sure I don't butcher this. It said, God does not call the prepared, he prepares the called.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Say that again.
Look
Say that
at
again.
you.
We need to post that on our website. Oh, we don't have one yet.
Oh, well, Mike, you're the website department. I'm just here to keep up with the episodes. That's all I
Yeah,
do.
you're
And I do
doing
a
fabulous.
terrible job at that.
But say that again one more time, Matt.
He's yeah, it hit me. I've thought about it all week. So it said, God does not call the prepared, he prepares the called.
I like
So
that.
just what Jill's talking about, and and we grow from that kind of stuff, and it's like, I'm a hot mess. And then God goes, well, take care of this hot mess. And you go, well, I'm a hot mess too. And you go, I don't care. And then you help them and you look up and go, oh, wait, I'm not as bad a hot mess anymore.
And it did prepare me for big things.
Yes.
And I'm thankful for that. But then, oh my gosh.
I did the group leader thing in rehab. They picked me and I was like, I'm ready to commit suicide right now. I don't need to be the group leader. And my counselor did it 2 weeks in a row because you only did it a week at a time, and they would do a new one, and they were calling me the police, whoever was the group leader. They're like, police in the hall, that
Narc.
kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, please, dear God, get me off of this. And she told me, though, she goes, we pick people who are struggling. That's who we pick. And I was like, oh.
Now you damn sure picked a good one.
Well, did they? Reigning champs, son. 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row.
And the whole time I was in treatment, I never saw anybody do it twice.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was
am I really that fucked
I was like,
off?
I hate my life. They would come in and read, oh, by the way, the new Weeks is this person. And I'm like, wait a minute, I was just it. They're like, you're it again. So, but hey, man.
Just look at us now.
I know, right?
Look at us now. So, have I read this part? If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. Now, before we go around the room, I want to tell y'all this. Number one, I did not want what you had.
Yeah.
I didn't. But I didn't want what I had either.
Yes. Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. Did you think they were kind of cheesy? Like there's something like just
Like you just walked into a cult
it
and
was.
everybody's just happy.
I was trying
And-
to
and
figure
they're
out what
pretending.
pills
I
were.
was like, what's wrong with these people?
You think about it, and you go into an AA meeting, and you still wondering what the hell's going on in my head, and you see all these people before the meeting starts, and they're hugging, and they're shaking hands, and they're laughing, and they're telling jokes or dominoes, and then they start sharing. You're like, God dang, these people are warped. I mean, like, what's the real person, the one that's sharing or the one that I was talking to before, right?
Right.
And so it takes time, over the course. But if you want what we have, and we hear this all the time, are you willing to go to any length to get it? Yeah.
I heard that so many times from my counselor. I was like, okay, sure.
I think that probably, catches along with the honesty. That's hard, but then when you get past that honesty point, it becomes what are you willing to do? And I can tell you, you're going to do weird stuff in this program. That, and I say weird as in
Not butt stuff, right?
no, or
Like, be a doorman, be a greeter.
Yeah, or Amy sent me a new way to fish the other day too. Not that kind of stuff either, but showed me a new fishing grip. But
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I told her I would mention that I appreciated that. But
Well, I already knew that, but
You did?
it reminds me.
I learned something new every day,
Well, I've been fishing for years.
fishing or hunting. They tell you to go to a meeting every day. They tell you to do these things, and I'm like, I got a family, I got a job, I got to work, I got to do all this stuff, and really, in reality, I had to stay sober because I didn't get to keep any of that other stuff.
Yes, because you really didn't have any of that going on.
Yeah, and so I did that, and I was like, man, am I going to sit in these stupid meetings the rest of my life like
Oh,
this?
my gosh,
sucks,
yes.
bro. And then all these people are so happy to be there, and I'm like, I'm freaking tired. I'm aggravated. I don't have any money in my pocket.
What do I have to be happy about?
And I'm like, what the hell are y'all all smiling about? And yeah. And I just kept hanging around, and I was like, it's like Mike said, I didn't really want to be Mr. Happy Guy walking around the AA room, high-fiving everybody, but at the same time, I could not go back to doing what I was doing. So,
Yeah.
and it just sort of, it takes a little time.
It grew on you.
It
It
does,
grew on
doesn't it?
me. It really did. Like now, I really like these people.
And it amazed me, the people you would see sitting in there, and it's like some grandma, and then she shares, and she's like, yeah, I robbed a bank. And I'm like, holy crap. Okay. Like, I like this chick, and I'm like, man, that must have been hell back in the 40s. And she's like, no, it was last week. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, no, like Matt said, there was a lady there when I first got there, and she had almost 7 years, okay, and she had stole a bus, and like in some kind of drug induced blackout, she had stole a bus, and there were people on the bus.
Rut row.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so she had been facing felony theft,
Kidnapping.
grand theft, kidnapping, like 35 counts of kidnapping.
Yeah, that's a
luckily
life
they weren't
sentence.
minors. That'd be even more.
Well, the wheels on everybody's bus don't go round. and round.
Oh, no.
Well, she was laughing about it. She would just, just.
Why not? She is recovered.
I mean, you're, yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, I ain't done nothing that bad. God damn.
You see and it was little things as I sat in there and kind of observed and listened. And I remember probably the first week at the Koala Club when I got out of treatment, and there was a lady, she's not even in there anymore. I haven't seen her in a few years, but it was her 7-year birthday, and she got up and got a chip, and she had sat in front of me the day before. The next day was her birthday. She got a chip. And then the next day she was sitting there, and I was like, that's what blew my mind. I was like, shit, if I had 7 years, I wouldn't be sitting in this thing the next day. I can understand coming in.
Common thought.
Yeah. And I was like, you got 7 years. Well, you need to And that
you
was
still
my
doing
whole,
here?
yeah. But I went, oh, this thing is all the time. Like, and she never said a word to me. I don't even know the lady's name, but I just remember being that gave me so much to think about. Just somebody sitting in a meeting like that. And I was like, maybe me and my 90 days, my legendary 90-day chip I have, maybe I need to sit around a little more, So
I was told to go to meetings until you want to go to meetings.
Yeah, man, that's true.
And I
I
did.
like that. Whoever told you that was very right.
Yep.
Right.
Because I never thought there'd be a time where I wanted to go to a meeting. And it became such a working part of my life. I felt thrown off if I didn't go to a meeting before I went home or went and did the rest of my stuff. So absolutely.
I did not want to be there in the beginning. It's not where I wanted to
I don't
be.
think anybody does.
And I still have
Right.
Friday night.
There's a couple people out there, I'm sure.
Working 2 jobs, and it's exhausting. And Friday night, get through about dark, and I had 30 minutes for the 8 o'clock at the Koala Club. I never go to that meeting, but I haven't been to a meeting in like 3 days, and I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm just gonna go sit in there. I just need to do it. It's just my habit. Like, I don't know what and I didn't want to go. Of course, I felt better after I left. It was a good little
Always.
meeting. Yeah. And I was like, I'm glad I sat in there. What's an extra hour of sleep that night ain't going to make no difference, but that did a lot more than an hour of sleep would have. So
We don't got to go. We get to go.
yeah, that's
you go.
exactly right.
Well,
And
somewhere in As Bill Sees It, you're going to see it written. We do this because at first we had to, then we wanted to, and then it becomes a working part of life. So, like, it goes past the whole wanting to go to a meeting. It just becomes a part of your life where you're just, it's just what I do.
Just getting up,
Just get up and go.
going
Yeah.
to work, just go to a meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a conversation with a girl the other day, and real young, didn't do AA, but went to rehab and got out. And this was probably about 6 months ago, and she made a comment about, I don't do the AA thing. I think people just kind of make that their life, and then that becomes the thing. And I was like, that's cool. I don't judge you. Do you? You're seem to be doing fine. And then like a week ago, we were talking about some stuff, and she goes, "What's that Koala Club place like over there?" And I was like, "It's great, man. It's And she said, I think I maybe need to be around that kind of stuff." And I said, yeah, it helps me. And she goes, I was kind of at first was like, I fixed my problem. And she goes, but I see the community of it and the people and the support. And I was like, yeah, go sit in a meeting or two, and see what you think. But for me, it's just saved my life, and I, ain't no other way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a life-saving thing. Mm-hmm. So we're back to if you decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, right?
Can I
What you got?
I want to
Yeah,
comment on
have
that
at it.
very sentence.
Have
There
at
is a old timer in my home group, and the way he explained it was, he has found a treasure trove of, like, say, gold, for instance, and I want you to have it, but you can't have mine. But I can show you how to get it. I can show you where it is and how to get it. And I think that's what that sentence means. If you want what we have, which is not material things, but I think Matt said it this morning, being reasonably happy most of the time.
I like the way you included material things because that's sometimes people seem to use that as a guidepost, and that shouldn't be.
Oh, it was mine.
Yeah.
Seriously, I didn't think happiness was a thing,
I
but
noticed her brand new knitted sweater. And I just had to have it.
I thought this was like a Christmas wish list.
Mike, you don't strike me as a knitted sweater guy.
Oh, well,
Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
He's a cardigan.
cardigan, yeah. How'd you know?
Yeah, I think our mind though is focused on the wrong things, and what happens is through the program you learn what's really of value and importance.
Yes.
And you learn that in life, and that's what Alcoholics Anonymous has been for me. Has been a life program. It hadn't been a stop drinking and drugging. They got that stopped at rehab when I was in there. They got it stopped. The thing is, I had a whole sickness that I had to deal with, and AA gave me a way to do that and continue to constantly work on that. And yeah, I used to care about money and well, I need to do this, I need to do that. Now I'm not that concerned about it. it is what it is. And, you know, I'm good either way. So it's a contentment with, I don't care. You know, I just don't worry about that kind of stuff. It's not worth
Isn't that
worrying
neat?
about.
You're
I know
okay.
it is.
Like I have everything I need.
Yeah. Like what is there that I have to have? And also, who says I get to have all that stuff? Who says I get to have my own jet plane and ride around in limos? Who says that? Me in my head. That's what I think. I got to be rock star famous.
Well, let me tell you,
God, he puts us where we need to be and supposed to be.
If that's the kind of stuff you want, okay, and there's nothing wrong with dreaming, or there's
not
nothing
at
wrong
all.
with working hard to get your goal, but being sober, you have a hell of a lot better chance of getting it
Sure.
than you do being drunk.
And there's not, and that's
Sure.
exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think people have these expectations.
Unrealistic
Yes,
Oh,
of like,
expectations.
I'm gonna be all this stuff. No, you don't know what you're gonna be. You know, that's the term. 2 and 3. Let God handle that. He has a will for you that you need to follow the path He puts you on.
And that's,
That's right.
definitely the thing. Like I had these ideas of what I thought I needed to be, but you know, when I got out of my will and I got into God's will, it was a totally different thing. And I just kind of, you know, after trying to control and manipulate and do all that, that was a huge lesson for me to let go of control and surrender to my higher power and be like, okay, you put me where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. So, at some of these, we balked. Okay?
Bark.
Yeah, where do we get that? Where some of these we balk. If you decided you want to go to any length you get and you're ready to take certain steps, so you got to take these certain steps. But at some of these steps, we started but then backed off. We balked, kind of like a pitcher in baseball when he acts like he's going to throw the ball, but he doesn't.
Psych.
It's called
Oh, sorry.
it's called a balk.
Yeah,
And generally, if I'm not mistaken, the runner gets to take a base.
they take a base.
If you
do.
balk,
Yep.
it doesn't count as a ball. It counts as it's not good. You don't balk.
Everybody
don't want that.
moves up a base. Yeah.
Let go of the ball if you have to.
Yep.
For some reason, but at some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. So again, we start this, but we're like, hang on a minute. I think I got a better way of getting sober.
Do you think that's normally around what, step 4? People are like,
3, 4.
Yeah.
Step 1.
depending on
How many
depending
people
on
balk
how
at step
long
1?
depending on how long they've been off the bottle, because at that point they really need some relief.
yeah.
That's right.
So it may be a little worse.
I didn't balk at 4, but I waffled and drug it out a while.
I see a lot of people do, but I mean, to me, I was just like, I was so ready to get all that crap out. Like, I was just like, I did this, you know.
Yeah. I still was like, do I have to put everything down here?
Why
know?
you have to know all my business?
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, God
And
bless.
it's another thing we start thinking about when we get to that step, and it's, we have to tell God, ourselves, and another human being. We don't have to tell every human being.
That's right.
We're not telling everybody everything, but whoever. But anyway, easier, softer way, but we could not. We couldn't find it. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Why do you think fearless and thorough from the very start?
I think it just establishes the quality of what you're fixing to do, and there's no going back to, I left some things off there, knowingly leaving things off that, the more thorough you can be, the quicker you're going to get true recovery and begin to rebuild, I guess, is the way I would put that.
I'm thinking if you're not fearless and thorough from the very start, you're going to have to start over.
Yeah, you can't get honest with yourself.
Yeah. This could drag out your recovery for as long as you allow that to happen.
Remember, we said we would go to any length to get sober.
There you go.
And I talked to a dude last night, and we were talking about people with time in sobriety, and we brought up the subject of that, and I think he's got about 10 months or something. And I said, but man, it's the quality of the sobriety. Like, I know people that are sobriety-wise very, very mature with 3 or 4 years of sobriety, and I know people that have twice that much that it's like, I don't know if they're doing the whole program, and that's okay. Everybody has a different path, but I mean, that quality of going in and being fearless and thorough and I think you just get there faster, you know?
But you have to be fearless. You have to step in with courage, or else you're just not going to start it. You're not going to show up to a meeting. You're not going to show up at treatment. You're not going to start the steps.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think courage is the reward from being fearless. You know, courage.
Yeah.
It's a paradox. Courage comes once you've took the leap of faith and took the step.
Well, and I got the only magnet that I have on my refrigerator is John Wayne, and it says courage is being scared to death but saddling up anyway. That's it.
right.
I mean, so yeah, I mean, you just sometimes have to go, I got to trust something other than me, which is what these steps are about, and I got to do my part, which is plow ahead no matter what. And yeah,
Well, I get it, and John Wayne knows better.
John Wayne does know better.
That's John Wayne. He's the Chuck Norris of the 1920s.
He's the Chuck Norris of Westerns. So
Okay, well, yeah. He's the Bruce Lee of Westerns.
he didn't know much karate. He'd more shoot you, It's my style. I don't do karate.
You know what amazes
Mike's
me?
a big nunchuck guy.
Yeah, that's my, yeah.
Where?
I don't even know. I mean, my nunchucks are in storage somewhere. I haven't practiced
This
in a long
was. It was going to
time.
be a thing at one point.
Yeah, we're gonna have nunchuck fights.
He does it to meet women. He walks around twirling his nunchuck.
Yeah, they're looking for a guy like that.
Yeah.
That's why they hang out at the Numtuck store in Grapevine Mills Mall. Yeah, if you ever go in, there's nobody there.
Do they really have a nunchuck store?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going.
Well, they have all things like samurai
Nunchucky?
sword
Oh, yeah.
and throwing stars and nunchucks,
yes.
and there's never anybody in there except for that one dude that works there. That's, whenever you go up there, you're like, oh, you're my first customer today, and I'm like, it's 8:00 at night.
And he can operate every one of those things, right?
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
I bet
he's
you know
proficient.
what? Probably they make big money, and you're like, wait, how?
And you buy some nunchucks. He's like, would you like to sign up for a class, sir? And I'm like, what, to teach one? Yeah, don't look at me like that, kid. I'm here. I'm here.
My son went in the Army, and he got into Fort Polk when he got out of basic training, and he was bored, doesn't have any money. He's just bored down there in the middle of nowhere. And he goes, Dad, I saw a sign on the bulletin board that said free MMA lessons. So I thought I'll be better at fighting. So I signed up because it was free. And he said, I showed up, and there was like 8 guys in this gym, and they're all working out and stuff. And they're like, who are you? And he said, I'm here for the free MMA lessons. And they were like, oh, you are? Oh, you're that guy. Stand over here. He goes, and this dude just jumped up and beat the crap out of me. And I was like, yeah, dude, you were a crash test dummy. Nothing's free.
Yes.
So my boy,
Yeah.
that's rough.
So, with all earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Now, before we say anything, that is where we're going to pick up next week.
All right.
Okay.
We're going to pick up there on how it works, part 2, with that exact part, because that's very important, and it kind of travels through our recovery. All right, it goes with us. So that's something that we got to look at, right? And we don't want to discount it because of time. And I don't like to make these things too long because I don't want to lose the audience. Speaking of the audience, we have 120 Spotify followers. We have 4,303 plays so far. In 1 year, it was 4,303 plays, but we have till midnight tonight. Our audience size is 63, and let me look. Let's see if we got any additional countries. But since it is our anniversary, I don't know, Matt. Did you go to Kenya?
Recently, no.
Okay, well,
It's
if you
spreading.
didn't, Kenya is now a new country. So I got to name them all. The U.S., of course, Ireland, United Kingdom, Taiwan, Denmark, Canada, Bulgaria, Lesotho, Australia, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Colombia, the Netherlands, Mexico, Germany, and Kenya.
Outstanding.
Isn't that crazy? So whoever signed in from Kenya, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks to
y'all
all
are
these
awesome.
countries, everybody that listens to us. And if this is one person traveling all over the world, you've obviously found recovery because, well, I guess you could do this drunk too, I guess. But it wouldn't, you would probably go from jail to jail.
Yeah.
And you would have never gotten out of the Mexico one.
Yeah. No, you never
Not
get out.
without making CNN.
Yeah.
Right. So
He even got Johnny Cash down there.
Apple Podcast represents 31.7% of our podcast, and then Spotify is 66.8. So that is, and our longest episode, our most listened to episode is still the very first episode of that first meeting. So, gnb.com, that's how you get a hold of us. Grouch and Brainstorm, gnb.com, gnbbozier.gmail, sorry, gnbbozier@gmail.com. Thank you for correcting me there, Jill. That's how you get a hold of us. Or you can call the voicemail line, and I got to get the number, so let me get the number.
And hey, by the way, too, you know, you're talking about birthdays. You know who else, what legend has a birthday coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Who?
Phil.
May 10th,
Yeah, May 10th,
1979.
Yeah.
That is insane. It's going to be a long time.
Phil, when Mike had the idea to do this, Phil was the first person that we did a bonus episode with.
We did a live
yeah.
recording at the
And I'm
Koala
telling
Club
you,
on
he
an
was-
iPad.
Speaking of courage, Phil's old school, and he was terrified, like, to just sit down and do this, and he just plowed through it. He's awesome. And we had a lot of people come on because I went, hey, Phil did it. And they were like, oh, okay. If Phil do it, I'll do it. So, Phil, he's the man. So,
You can be reached also, Matt. Voicemail,
I can be.
817.
okay.
We can, 988-2530. That's 817-988-2530 if you want to leave a voicemail. And we'll be glad to talk about whatever it is you want us to talk about. We've got this episode. We're going to do episode 2 of how it works. That's going to be 59 and 60 if you look at all our episodes put together. And then I think we're going to move on to trust. That will be the episode after that, because I had somebody reach out about it, and at the time they reached out, I didn't have enough content, you know, and we don't really produce content. We kind of share our experience, right? But didn't really have enough thought process behind it to do an episode. So that's what we're going to do next, you know, after how it works. So, Eddie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having
Hope
me.
you join us on part 2. That'd be great, wouldn't it? All right. So we're at Rule 62 Studios. It's in Bossier City, Louisiana, and we are the Grouch and the Brainstorm.